Well, I think we are recording. So, good morning. Good morning. It is hot and sweaty here in the Midwest, which is a very bizarre thing because we're supposed to be getting cooler and cooler. And we've already broken something like 18 records in the last week. And we're headed for an even hotter adventure over the weekend. So, hot, hot, hot. We are all about this. Kind of a salsa experience here along the shores of Lake Michigamme. How are you this morning, Barret?
I'm really good, and in fact, later today I will be along the shores of Lake Michigamme in my swimsuit probably for a little time on the beach because it's so hot here.
That's a good idea. That will give you a little respite, and you might want to take some guacamole and a few chips along with you, and maybe even see if you can entertain the crowd by doing a little salsa out there on the rocks.
Yeah, maybe a little merengue too, just to mix it up.
Yes, well, you're the dance guy. You and Edith go out and track down places where you can do the light fandangos. So maybe you can develop some sort of a paid experience out there and pick up a few bucks while you're at it.
Sounds good. I'll put my hat out and see if I can pay for my gas for the trip over.
That would be good. Yes, I'm sure that there would be people that would respond with appreciation. Although, when you stop and think about it, who really wants to dance on rocks on a hot day? But
yeah, I'm thinking more swimming. I don't know if I'll get paid for that, but it'll be probably refreshingly cold actually on a hot day like today.
yeah, the lake does have its own temperature range, which affects the weather all around the edge of the lake. So when we get these high heat days, it evaporates and warms up the water, and it'll be interesting to see if we start getting some serious kickback in the form of torrential downfalls, which could be coming our way, in a couple of weeks here, it looks like. Anyway, enough of our trivial pursuit here, as it were. We are working on the Song of Prayer, which is a very celestial tome that was written. Although I don't know if it's actually big enough to qualify as a tome, but it is a beautiful discussion about the process of prayer and what prayer is, how we should approach prayer, and ultimately the eventual outcome of prayer. So, are you in a prayerful state of mind this morning, Barret?
Yes, I'm praying for happiness as I always try to. Although, as Jesus was saying in that section, we're always praying for something, and what we're praying for will be revealed to us by our experience. Are we peaceful? Are we happy? Are we joyful? Well, that's what you've been praying for. Are we upset? Are we angry? Are we fearful? Well, then you've actually been praying for that. And again, we're probably not praying consciously for that, but on some level we are, if that's what we're living. So our work becomes in being conscious of what we're praying for and making a better choice when we see that we've been praying for fear or praying for punishment. And this is really kind of perfect lead into the section that we're in right now, which is on page 17, false versus true healing. Here Jesus is delineating the two types of healing, just like the two types of prayer. And he's saying, well, which one are you doing? Are you doing the ego's healing, which is all about healing the body or making the world look the way that we think it should? Or are we doing spirit's healing, which is always healing the mind of the false ideas within it and coming into that state of inner peace and joy? So I'm just going to jump right in to share what it has to say here. False healing merely makes a poor exchange of one illusion for a nicer one, a dream of sickness for a dream of health. This can occur at lower forms of prayer, combining with forgiveness kindly meant, but not completely understood as yet. Only false healing can give way to fear, so sickness will be free to strike again. So what he's saying here is that, false healing, we can have actually healings of the body. But what he's saying is that that is not the truth, right? Because if you heal the body, you could just get sick again. Even if you heal completely of some illness, eventually the body's going to die. So the sickness of the belief in death is still present. So to continue on, he says, false healing can indeed remove a form of pain and sickness, but the cause remains and will not lack effects. The cause is still the wish to die and overcome the Christ. And with this wish is death a certainty, for prayer is answered. Yet there is a kind of seeming death that has a different source. It does not come because of hurtful thoughts and raging anger at the universe. It merely signifies the end has come for usefulness of body functioning. And so it is discarded as a choice, as one lays by a garment now outworn. So he's saying that even the experience of death here in the world can be coming from a right-minded perspective. And again, this is a very advanced state. This is the state that Jesus was in at the end of his life, that he was completely at peace even as his body was being killed. He bore no grudge within his heart, even though people were hammering him to the cross. And what he's saying is that this is possible for all of us, and this is really our goal, is to have this so deep experience of inner peace that nothing that the world gives us can take it away. So that's what we're going for here.
Yes, absolutely. To be able to consciously step out of the body and to have that continuity of experience, not falling back into the dream and waking up in another body and repeating, that whole cycle. And I was just looking up on the internet Paramahansa Yogananda, because he has one of my favorite stories about, stepping out of the body. And the way that he did that was right at the end of his teaching cycle, right at the end of his ministry. He put together an organization called the Self-Realization Fellowship, and he had all of his disciples. And what he actually did was he consciously stepped out of his body after he had announced to all of his associates and friends and followers that he was ready to leave. And it says, in the days leading up to his death, Yogananda began hinting that it was time for him to leave the world. On March 7th, 1952, he attended a dinner for the visiting Indian ambassador to the U.S., Ben Ray Rajan Sen, and his wife at the Biltmore Hotel. And there were other people in attendance at that. And after communicating and having dinner, he just simply left his body. He just, departed. The interesting thing about this story, though, is that the LA County coroner, who, in that Los Angeles region, jobs of that level are very prestigious. And so their image, self-image, is very, very important to them. And the county coroner verified that Yogananda had left his body behind, but she said the skin was still very soft to the touch, and there was this unusual odor of roses that seemed to fill the room where the body was. And Yogananda had instructed his people to leave the body in a special place for 6 months and have it re-examined. And the LA County coroner came and re-examined the body and said it was exactly in the same state as when she had seen it 6 months earlier. And but there was still no presence of life in it, but it was perfectly preserved. So I think I was probably 21 or 22 when I read that, and at the time I was out in Los Angeles, and I was able to go to the Yogananda Center and discuss that with different people. And I made a somewhat conscious decision. I'm sure it was also validated on the unconscious level, but that's what I want to do. That's how I want to leave. I don't want to go down dirty and come back up again and repeat the cycle. So that's exactly what we're talking about here in this segment of the Song of Prayer, is to realize what true healing is. And it's really not about preserving the body, although we can preserve the body beautifully, magnificently, from the level of spirit. But more importantly, it's for us to be able to differentiate between the ego, which lives in the body, and our true identity, which lives in God. So once we make that step across that bridge, once we're able to get over to the other side, then all of a sudden something very, very magical occurs.
Yeah, it really is, an experience that can be poetic and beautiful rather than something that is painful and hard. And the interesting thing, I think, contrasting Paramahansa's experience with Jesus's, right? Jesus's experience looked awful, but his experience was just as peaceful as Paramahansa's was, because he knew that nothing was really happening. And I think in a way they're both pointing us to the same truth, which is that there really is no death. And that death can't touch us, and it can't really affect an awakened mind. And that's all of our goal, is to really step into that. And how do we do that? Well, we do the true healing versus the false healing. And the true healing is to continue to turn all of our thoughts of guilt and shame and fear over to spirit within, to realize that they haven't really affected us on the level of the divine within, and that we can still return to that state. So it's really just a continual practice of letting go of our judgments and our fears, and we're all on that journey together.
Absolutely. Nobody gets out of here alive, but until we reach critical mass where we all get out of here alive. So it's an interesting enigma there that we can play around with. But anyway, continuing with the Song of Prayer, this next paragraph says, "This is what death should be, a quiet choice, made joyfully and with a sense of peace, because the body has been kindly used to help the Son of God along the way he goes to God. We thank the body, then, for all the service it has given us, but we are thankful, too, the need is done to walk the world of limits and to reach the Christ in hidden forms, and clearly seen at most in lovely flashes. Now we can behold him without blinders in the light that we have learned to look upon again." So, and this is giving us imagery around that idea of merging into the oneness of Christ. We're always babbling about, non-duality and oneness, and yet most of us are really very, very panicky when it comes to actually experiencing that, because there's this fear of losing me and being absorbed by, the Borg or something, and it gets really scary when you start to confront the ego on that level, because the ego is going to go into panic mode. But the beautiful assurances we're given throughout the Course is that the ego was never really something that was real to begin with. So all you're doing is just giving up your own illusion of being a separate self. And the whole time this drama has been playing out, it's been, our dream time, our special time to go and entertain all these ideas of doom, death, and destruction.
Yeah, I like that little segment about the fear that we're going to be kind of melted into the Borg, that it really points to this big dynamic that I think every spiritual seeker finds at a certain point, which is the idea that spirit itself, whether we call it Jesus or Holy Spirit or something else, is like a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? That we think that, they're actually going to take away from us something that we need or something that's valuable, rather than helping us just to let go of that which is false and truly without value. So at different ways, and I think all of us come to this point where we realize, I haven't really trusted Jesus. I haven't really trusted Holy Spirit because I'm terrified of what they are actually offering me. And to realize that mask that we place on Spirit is not a true one. And that if we go beyond the mask, we see that all they're offering us is love and kindness, and that there truly has never been anything to fear. But that takes practice, and it takes persistence. And that's why, Chris and I keep talking over and over more of these videos, because I think, well, first of all, we need to learn these things we're saying. But if you're continuing to watch these videos, then it's because you need to keep hearing them too.
Exactly. And the beauty of the way the mind and our consciousness works is that we cannot really learn in any depth of truth. We may learn on a very shallow level, alone and apart and by ourselves. But when we join, when we come to communion, when two or more are gathered in my name, we have this holy moment in time where the information floods through. And so if you're sitting at home having a brewski and watching this video, I really encourage you to entertain the idea of starting to teach the things that you have learned in the course, because the only way that you can really get into any substrata and really get down into the depths of the course is to become a teacher. And then you learn as you teach, and it's a really magnificent and celestial experience.
Yeah, I definitely am still a student, even as I sit here in front of the camera and talking with you, and on the other events that I do. There's only one mind, right? So if there's only one of us here, well, then it's me. At least from my perspective, it's me. From your perspective, it's you. But because there's only one of us here, really what that means is everything that's ever happened to you in your whole life, all of time and space, has been for your awakening. And if each of us can really kind of sit with that and get that, it really helps us to look at the world through a new lens. And it takes away all this fear, and it leads us to this way of even dying that Jesus is talking about in this section, that it can be peaceful and it can be joyful. And I'll just kind of continue reading because he keeps talking about it so beautifully. He says, "We call it death, but it is liberty. It does not come in forms that seem to be thrust down in pain upon unwilling flesh, but as a gentle welcome to release. If there has been true healing, this can be the form in which death comes when it is time to rest a while from labor gladly done and gladly ended. Now we go in peace to freer air and gentler climate, where it is not hard to see the gifts we gave were saved for us. For Christ is clearer now, his vision more sustained in us, his voice, the word of God, more certainly our own." So, how poetic, right? It's really a beautiful statement here of the gentle release that death can be when we have no more fear in our mind. Because one of the obstacles is our fear of death. But what we come to see is that there is no death, so there's nothing to fear. We don't have to worry about a death or really fear anything when we get that we're not a body, right? When we see that this body is nothing but a symbol, a projection of the mind, and not our truth, what does it matter if this body continues on or not? It's not the end of us, because there truly is no end, because there's never been an end or a beginning. And this state of mind, this frame of reference, really leads us to this way of even dying with peace. And I think it's really beautiful the way he describes it here.
It absolutely is. And for me, it brings to mind the statements by Jesus on more than one occasion where he is quoted as saying, "I die daily," and that really is being able to cross that bridge with ease and to be able to set the ego aside, put it over on the shelf, and to stop the brain, to stop the mind, because that really is what perpetuates this false sense of self, this idea of I am somebody doing something in some world. So as we enter to this sacred space, we have to be willing to surrender that thought process, that brain chatter that is always going on. And throughout history, we've got hundreds, if not thousands, of examples of people who access that realm very easily and very comfortably. Joel Goldsmith, in his journey, was a man who was known for being able to just almost hip hop across that barrier with such grace and ease. And Mary Baker Eddy, and you can just go on and on and on. So really the whole point is to recognize that death is not anything that is real. So when we say I died daily, we're just telling people, hey, I just turned off the mind for a few seconds and re-experienced who I am in that state of grace, living and moving and having my being in God.
Yeah, and I think we could even take it to the next level and say I die in each moment, right? To realize that in each moment we can be here in the present. We can die to our past and die to the future. And it's in the state of now that we experience the eternal always. And that's really our goal in working with the Course, is to let go of our connection to the past and the future so much that our whole experience becomes like a waking meditation of this moment. And, again, I think it's a state that relatively few have achieved. But that doesn't mean it's not worth going for. And whether we get all the way there in this lifetime or another, every bit of fear that we let go of is that much less we have to carry forward with us. So however much work you can do on this forgiveness journey is going to pay dividends, right? It's going to benefit you by increased peacefulness and increased happiness. So the rewards are great, and they're ultimately eternal, because the ultimate reward of this path is the remembrance of our eternal truth, and there's nothing really better than that.
Absolutely, it's the only goal worth really committing yourself to attaining. To pick up here with this last paragraph that we'll read today, and then we'll pick up in a week with the next section. But it says, this gentle passage to a higher prayer, a kind forgiveness of the ways of the earth, can only be received with thankfulness. Yet first true healing must come to bless the mind with loving pardon for the sins it dreamed about and laid upon the world. Now are its dreams dispelled in quiet rest. Now its forgiveness comes to heal the world, and it is ready to depart in peace, the journey over and the lessons learned. So, again, it's that process that once initiated even becomes more than an obsession, because it becomes your only reason for existence. And once you begin to dip into that well, life gets just better and better.
I think it's a call from heaven.
It is, but I'm going to have to engage with it for just a second here.
Sure. Well, I'll just kind of hop on and say we have a number of things that are coming up. This Sunday, Chris and I are going to be live and in person at Transformation in Alsip. So from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., if you're in the Chicago or Northwest Indiana area and would like to come talk about the Course with us, we'd love to have you. So again, that's Sunday, September 24th, 1 to 4 p.m. at Transformation in Alsip, Illinois. And then we have another great event coming up November 5th, which is a Sunday afternoon in Glenview. That's called Exploring the Course. And in addition to Chris and I, there are 3 other Course in Miracles teachers in the area that we're all going to be talking about the Course. So we'd love to have you there for that one. And again, it's 1 to 5 p.m. on Sunday, November 5th. And then I also just really want to plug the website Chris has been putting a lot of great content on. It's an amazing resource. It bears the same name as this conversation that we have, and it is themiraclewithin.org. Again, that's themiraclewithin.org. Again, it has resources, it has audios, it has videos, it has links to other sites from other great Course in Miracles teachers, and just so much more information. There's a great interview on there with Chris that Chris did of Gary Renard. And then there's also a beautiful recording of Helen Schuckman that was made in the later years of her life before she transitioned. One of the only audio recordings of Helen that survives to this day. So that's a really cool thing to listen to there. So those are a number of the different things that we have going on. And if you have a chance, check them all out. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me directly. My website is barrethedeen.com. That's BARRETHEDEEN.com. And it'd be great to hear from you. So yeah, I just shared all the great things we're doing in the next few weeks here, Chris, and your website, themiraclewithin.org. So I think our listeners are well informed right now.
Yes, everybody is fully up to speed, and we do enjoy having these opportunities for having communion with our people, or with any people, with everybody's people, with God's people. So if you get the opportunity to come and experience one of our live events, we will be truly appreciative, and you will be welcomed with warm arms.
All right. Well, I look forward to our next talks. We have a talk we're going to be doing on finding miracles at the movies next week, which will be on the movie Cloud Atlas. So keep an eye out for that as that's revealed. And then our continuing weekly talk, continuing on here in the Song of Prayer next Thursday as well.
Yes, absolutely. And the big thing is to take that break 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times a day and just see if you can calm your mind down enough to experience that little tiny flash of contact with the truth of who you are, because it's right there waiting for you. It's effortless. You don't have to fight your way through to it. All you have to do is just believe that love is summoning you back home again.
It's true. And I don't know if you said the words tiny flash or I just heard them, but I thought maybe it was referring to something else. But no, we should.
Well, we have that element too here. I seem to be getting a lot of friends on Facebook, people on Facebook wanting to friend me, and they have these URLs where I can go get a flash of their flesh. And they have no idea how solid the door is that they're knocking on, that will never be opened.
All right. Well, it's good to end with a chuckle, and I look forward to talking with you again next week, Chris.
Yes, you have a great week, and we'll connect in less than 7 days. Get out there and share the love, pass the love around, and we will connect with you soon.
All right. Looking forward to it. All right. Have a good one, Chris.
You too.